Sonic Underground Episode 33, Healer. The heroes sneak into Robotropolis inside of a container, talking right in front of, one of the heroes is in Mecha. It just happens that his voice sounds robotic, for no reason. So Manic has to pour garbage on his siblings to keep the robots from being suspicious of them. I don't know, maybe they're talking through a voice box that artificially makes their voice sound robotic, because it's the only way they can blend in with the robots. But they don't say that. Then Manic lockpicks and uses Cyrus's deactivation code. I kept expecting someone to sneak up on Manic when he was hacking. He says now, and the heroes escape the can, and Sonic says they're diverting Robotnik's supply ships to feed freedom fighters. Barnaby finds what he thinks is an invitation. A hologram of a person tells him to witness his de-roboticizer invention. He's obviously lying because that changed the status quo, and it's way too good to be true. So there's no way that this actually matters in the show. This is why you shouldn't stick to the status quo, because it makes the audience jaded. Also, he has a white robe, so he's probably just a lying cult leader. Did anybody fall for this? And Robotnik sees the hologram and is angry about it. Why can't the show just have this de-roboticizer exist past this episode? What's so wrong with that? It'd be pretty anticlimactic if this thing did work, because it just shows up out of nowhere. Inside AM, the heroes kept finding roboticizer information, and we're learning about how to make a de-roboticizer bit by bit as a result. But I would still prefer that, but like, this show is never going to do that, and it's also never even going to do what Archie did, where they had a portable de-roboticizer out of nowhere in one issue. Which is basically this, except it has the guts to actually have it work. Manic spins Slee around, and the other heroes hide in the air duct, with Sonya missing her adopted mom because she saw her. If this was a brilliant episode, this would lead to her mother being de-roboticized permanently. It's a major victory for the heroes, and should be with the heroes for the rest of the show, or at least safe somewhere, like in the underground. But of course not. Manic uses his mecha to get rid of the bounty hunters. No, not by killing them, because that'd be smart. And Sonic presses a button and sees a message from Barnaby. He tells her about the message that he got. His acting really is terrible. I understand it's hard to act properly when you're doing a stupid voice. And that's why they should never have stupid voices. Sonic says he'll believe it when he sees it. They go meet Titus, who's sitting in a meditating stance, and he tells Sonya that her life force is strong, as opposed to the life force of the other people, right? Sonic asks to see the de-roboticizer after that obvious scam artist remark, and he says that he'll demonstrate it later. Yeah, I'm suspicious. This is obviously too good to be true, so why are they bothering? He doesn't even say that it has to be later because they need to get a Robian to de-roboticize first. But logically, Sonic's immediate response should be, wait, why? Why is it later? Why not? And then he should immediately run out and then run back in carrying a Robian over his head and tell him to de-roboticize him. And if he says no, then they'll have every reason to hate him, because he doesn't care about de-roboticizing nearly as much as making money at the event he'll show off later. Instead, Sonic tells Manic to put back some of the stuff he stole from him. And Manic doesn't get any punishment from trying to do that. They should be doing reality ensues. Like, if they want to teach us, shouldn't they be teaching the kids that thieving is wrong instead of thieving has no consequences? Then Cyrus tells Sonic to open a box while he plays. Sonya gets out her keyboard and the others play a song for no reason. Cyrus says that when the supply ships come through for the heroes, they'll need a diversion, and Sonic agrees to it. The bounty hunters see camera footage of the heroes, and Dingo is made into a fly and given something for Slate to hear what's going on in there, so he'll be a fly on the wall. That's cool. The heroes go to the de-roboticizer meeting. The scientist presses a button, two people drag a Robian into the de-roboticizer, and colorful lights come out of the de-roboticizer as alarms play for the sake of the show, because otherwise there's no point to them at all. Then we see the person de-roboticized. So is he replacing the Robian with someone organic who looks of a similar shape to him? Like a magician? This isn't off script, by the way. This is literally what I wrote down when I was seeing this for the first time. I'm just assuming this. He acts surprised and he says that it's a miracle, and he shakes his hand, but his acting is pretty terrible. I'm still waiting for the stupid twist where it's all gonna be fake. Maybe the bounty hunters will destroy the de-roboticizer, even if it is working correctly. So either way, it's doomed. The show's tone is too bleak for me, and it's too status quo for me to ever believe in it. Sonic says he's got a friend in the Resistance who'd love to see how this works, and he says to Tidus that just helping people apparently doesn't do it for him.
So just helping people doesn't do it for you, huh?
Instead, Tidus is in it for the money. But it's apparently the money for the research. But apparently he only uses the money for the research. He claims that now he can prevent roboticization. With a few small changes, and not changes that involve a wizard, the machine will protect you from ever being roboticized like an immunizer. This is what should have been introduced to explain the immunization in Archie instead of Buller sending aliens to do it. And not alien wizards either. At least that's not what they say. I mean, even if the immunizer doesn't work, then wouldn't news spread that it doesn't work eventually? But I guess he doesn't care because in the short term he'll make money. But in the long term he'll be completely discredited and nobody will respect him anymore. Is he? I guess he's not thinking about that. Some robots head over to the building and blow up the walls, and Tidus presses a button to turn the de-roboticizer to a carryable state, which is very smart of him to do. And Manic plays his drum to create an earthquake as Sonic shoots lasers with his guitar. Sonia pulls away Bartleby, and Manic helps push the de-roboticizer. Sonic destroys the airship with his laser. Of course that won't kill the villains. And he doesn't angst about the idea that maybe some people were in that airship piloting it and he killed them. I guess he just assumes that the airship is on autopilot. Is he familiar with the plane that looks like this and knows that all planes that look like this don't have any people in them? Sonic says that this whole thing feels ugly, and he wants to talk to this de-roboticizer dude. This is why this plot is so predictable. How many times by now has the main character of the show said something like, "I'm skeptical"? Usually that means he's right, because he's the main character. He then says that he hates having to think. I'm not sure that's really in character for Sonic. Maybe it's because I'm so familiar with Fleetway Sonic now, and he's actually really smart. This is all clumsy foreshadowing to the scientists being evil, right? This isn't a fun episode, this is a nerve-wracking one. Because I'm hoping that it's going to be what it really is, but I don't have faith in the writing to actually be that way. It's reminding me of when I saw the Goblin Prince making a deal with the Fox Kings issue in Fleetway. And I was so worried that it would turn out that the Goblin Emperor was actually evil. And I don't think that was ever really revealed. I was just hoping that it would be a good twist that he's not actually evil. And that, I don't think they ever said that he wasn't pure evil. So ultimately, Fleetway did something better than a TV show did. Go figure. Sonic makes Bartleby scream when he flies around fast with him. And Sonia climbs down a ladder and tells Tidus to immunize her, saying that she has money set aside. I mean, this would take away the tension if she was ever threatened with being roboticized again. So, I wish this could be true, but that would require continuity, and that would also not have as much tension anymore. Manic says that they should talk about this first. I guess he has enough depth that sometimes he can be the rational risk not taking one. And Tidus says that he needs just a few hours to refit his machine. Okay. So he laughs and calls her a fool with her money. Yup. You know, you didn't need to give the game away that fast. That was just padding. Then Dingo transforms back to normal and Sleek comes in saying that someone wants to meet him. They shouldn't have left him alone. I mean, Robotnik says that the machine is just smoke and lights with no electronics in it at all. Then how'd he deroboticize someone? Maybe my assumption was correct. He tells the scientist that his immunizer would make a good roboticizer. And then Sonic talks to the supposedly deroboticized person who says that they're making money off the rich, so no harm, no foul. I understand their reasoning, at least. And the scientist tells them that Robotnik will let him off if he roboticizes one of the hedgehogs, being fine with the whole thing, because of course he has to be evil when he supposedly invented the roboticizer. Because drama! Sonia gives the scientist some money and goes into the immunizer, and the guy nervously tells her to stand right there. I like that he's nervous, that's sympathetic of him. And she's surrounded with yellow light and she screams, already. How would she know that? Does she feel like she's in pain? Is there chemicals coming to her already? Why isn't she already in the process of being turned into a robot? Surprisingly, he pushes her out of the way and jumps into the capsule and gets himself roboticized. Why is some of his head still organic? What's the point? Maybe it's to save on metal, but then he's technically legionized, not roboticized, because he's a cyborg. Also, I can't believe I didn't think of this when I first wrote the review, but this has the same problem as when Antoine was almost roboticized. He waited so long to push her out of the way. Do you think that she'd at least be a cyborg after this? It could make her a lot more useful since she has such difficulty fighting robots other than kicking them. And she's somehow not as fast as Sonic, so it would be better for her to be a cyborg, and she could be like Bunny. But that would require changing the status quo. Ugh. I hope nobody actually supports the status quo idea. Ugh. Manic drums to make an explosion, and the heroes whirlwind together to make a tornado destroy some airships, and the Robian grabs Manic. Sonia kicks him down, and the heroes get away. Sonia and Manic are smiling perfectly fine, despite the fact that they were forever robbed of a chance to have a deroboticizer. Yeah, that's relatable protagonists. Cyrus then thanks the heroes for creating a diversion for the cargo ships, which they did by sheer accident. And most patronizingly of all, because of this they end the episode by laughing. Isn't anyone a little pissed off? No? Why did they even bother introducing a deroboticizer? It was just a trick. That was not worth it for the sake of a plot. I guess the guy who was working with the scientist had a twin brother, and he was a Robian, and he just used him. I mean, it is a pretty brilliant scam. It was so irritating seeing this episode because I knew that the show would never have the guts to actually have a real deroboticizer and change the status quo. And even if it did, it would never last. It's a show where the heroes aren't allowed to make any progress in their fight because if they did, they'd make too much and triumph over Robotnik. The whole time I just found the episode irritating because I knew it was just a hope spot that would play with the audience's emotions manipulatively and then crush those hopes because status quo is God. Which status quo is God does not work for a show with a premise like this. I knew from the minute that I saw a guy in white robes making big promises that he had to be evil. It's not like it's a terrible episode, not by the standards of the other old cartoons, but it's terrible for this show. Why introduce something that's basically the holy grail way too easily to a brand new character, making it really obvious to the jaded audience that things aren't what they seem, especially since the main character is suspicious the whole time. So gee, I wonder if he's right. It would have been more infuriating though if the deroboticizer was all it was cracked up to be, and then it got destroyed way too easily, if I didn't go with that. That would be a real slap in the face. There's so much clumsy foreshadowing in this episode. Like the minute he didn't want Sonic to take it to his engineer friend, they already gave the game away because that's suspicious. And they don't have him say that he doesn't trust Sonic enough to steal it on him, which I kind of thought up as a potential explanation, but he doesn't say that. The only good thing I can say about this is that Cyrus comes back. And the heroes do get a real victory because they create a diversion so that Robotnik's supply ships can give supplies to the rebels.
We emptied the cargo ships without a hitch.
I mean, that is one thing, that is one piece of continuity that they keep. So why that? Why that and not other continuity stuff? This is why status quo is God fails. It's the quickest way to make your audience jaded and cynical, not care at all, because nothing really matters. Status Quo is God and negative continuity do work in like a purely comedy show with no action whatsoever. Like The Simpsons, it's been going on forever, so I can't blame the writers for not remembering every little episode. And SpongeBob and stuff. Those are just cartoon comedy shows that don't matter. But this is an action series where it's about freedom fighting against a dictator. So Archie automatically does it better because it has continuity. Sure, I always know in the back of my mind that the heroes are never going to be allowed to beat Eggman for real, but it still has some continuity, so I'm not completely broken from the immersion. I definitely wasn't nearly as jaded and cynical about status quo as God. Eggman can't be taken down in Archie, but I definitely was in Underground. I still like this show. It's the most consistently good Sonic show there is. But this is why the comics are better. There's no excuse for negative continuity. In the comic, the Dear Bodicizer would have actually worked. Like that portable one that Dulcie found. But in a show that's afraid of change and positive things happening for the heroes, it has to be a hope spot with an obvious twist. How are the heroes so chipper at the end of the episode? That's what really pissed me off. Because I can't relate to them at all here. They should be in a really bad mood after all of that. Sonia got her hopes up that she could get her adopted mother back, and she can't. So that scene with her was pointless.